So my cousin got Guilty Gear Strive on his PS5. The year is 2025, and he almost got every single character in the game, one of them being Bridget. So I finally got the chance to play as this spunky yo-yo wielding bounty hunter. And to no surprise, Bridget ended up becoming one of my favorite characters to play as, right next to Elfelt, Ramathar, and this sexy red-haired Jacko. Shouts out to her and them curves. I love playing as Bridget. The combos you can pull off with this character are so cool, and the look of the character is super cute too. Not to mention the butt punch that Bridget is able to pull off. As I said many times on this channel, it's a common trend for fighting games and beat 'em ups to include a butt punch. Bridget is awesome in terms of looks and combat. Despite all of that, there has been some controversy centering around the bounty hunter's gender, and it ramped up even more when the creator of Guilty Gear, Daisuke Ishiwatari, confirmed that Bridget is a transgender girl. While there are some people who accepted this outcome, there are some people who refuse to acknowledge Bridget as a girl, and this resulted in the community being split on this decision, which is still ongoing to this day. This was a lose-lose situation for Arc System Works, because no matter which direction they wanted to take Bridget in, they were going to receive backlash from either side regardless. I personally never heard of Bridget until I saw the debut trailer, so seeing this war surrounding the character has me wondering, why is all of this even a big deal? Well, that's for me to find out. So I had my cousin help me download the game on my PS5 through GameShare. And just a quick disclaimer, I am not that great at this game. I'm a casual player when it comes to 2D fighters at the end of the day, so I hope you can get used to this mediocre gameplay I will be providing you. So what's the deal with Bridget, and what's the backstory behind the sweet bounty hunter? I won't dive too deep into it, but I will highlight the most important parts of her story. Also, yes, I will be referring to Bridget as she, her for the rest of the video. Trust me, I do not like pronouns in this current state. In fact, I absolutely despise using them. Because when you see someone use pronouns with a trans or gay flag on Twitter, you can tell they're either a tourist or a kid that shouldn't even be on this app. No offense to the good ones in those communities. So she made her debut in Guilty Gear XX. She was born in a wealthy family as the younger twin after her brother. However, the younger twin must be either put down or given up for adoption due to the superstition that male twins are considered a bad omen. Her parents refused to choose between the two, so instead they raised her as a daughter instead of a son. A very interesting setup for a story. I like this because it's a unique backstory that's never been done on any other character I know in fictional media. A boy that was raised as a girl in order to avoid being sent to death or adopted. Despite being given the best training and tutoring as a child, Bridget wanted to keep her parents from worrying, but she sees that they felt guilty of forcing her into living as a girl. So in order to convince everyone in her hometown that their superstitions are wrong, she decided to leave the village to act more manly to bring back wealth to the village. So she became a bounty hunter in order to make a lot of cash that would help relieve her parents of this ongoing guilt they've been facing. And as you can see, this is how she looks in the XX games. An unlike outfit with her teddy bear Roger. But I always questioned the giant handcuff around her body. Still, she looks very cute, but I liked her new outfit just a little more. And that leads us to Guilty Gear Strive. Bridget became a playable character in the second DLC pass of Guilty Gear Strive. At this point, she's now a famous bounty hunter and the superstition of her village was fading. So you would think she can finally live on as a boy, right? Well, not really. Despite having no more restrictions, she's now looking for a purpose and is trying to understand her true self. So at the start of her story, she runs into Gold Lewis Dickinson, who tries to add Roger to his collection, but she resists, resulting in him backing off. Referring to her as a lady, Bridget corrects him by saying she's a boy. So you continue on with her arcade, and after the fight with Gold Lewis, the opponents are random for the most part. And on that note, allow me to rant a little bit here. Fuck Faust on stage 4. Holy shit, he has to be the most infuriating character I've ever gone up against. I've lost up to 8 times to this tall bastard because of his stupid giant scalpler. I appreciate the challenge game, but what the actual fuck, man? So when you reach the final stage, you're up against Kai Kiski, and after defeating him with the help of Gold Lewis, Kai encourages her to decide for herself how she wants to live, and Bridget finally gives her answer.
I don't want to run scared anymore. If I keep on faking it like this, I know I'll regret it. So from now on, no matter what, no more lying to myself. Thank you, both of you.
Don't mention it. Happy trails, cowgirl, or cowboy.
Cowgirl is fine, because I'm a girl.
When I read her entire story and played through the arcade and Strive, me personally, I didn't think it was a mess of a closure, but it is a bit odd for them to have her story centered around her trying to be manly and then immediately flip a switch and have her accept herself as a girl. I don't mind the concept, but it's the execution of it that could have been better. If it was introduced in the previous games, I think the pacing would be even better. Hell, I wouldn't mind if they actually kept her as a I'm not saying that word, nope. As a feminine boy. But I will say this, if Daisuke and Arc System Works truly meant for Bridget to be a T-girl, then I can respect their decision. I just wish it could have been better executed. So to answer the question in the title of the video, no. I don't think Bridget is ruined in Guilty Gear Strive. In fact, it's actually adding on to her story rather than her story being retconned or erased. But regardless of which side of the fence you stand on, I don't think the back and forths are necessary, especially over one character. And it's been going on for 3 years, which is crazy. On one hand, like I said before, if Daisuke truly meant for Bridget to be a T-girl, then that's okay because it's his game and character. But on the other hand, in fairness to all of you who truly like Bridget, you all probably felt betrayed by Arc System Works because you followed Bridget's story from the beginning. Hopefully this doesn't encourage you to drop the character. Now the video should end here, right? I gave my thoughts on Bridget and her story and I made my stance. However, I came across some really bad news. I recently came across a video from the YouTuber Vera Dark where she explains that a new Guilty Gear game was in the works, but was cancelled a few weeks ago. I had to look this up to get more information on this, and apparently it's not completely dead. They're just actually going back to the drawing board. There's no actual reason behind them canceling the new Guilty Gear game, unfortunately, but this does ties into what Arc System Works announced prior to Bridget's change in gender, which is them trying to branch out to a global audience. And you may think that's not a bad thing, but it really means they're going for a modern audience. And we all know from experience, that is a death sentence for a company/game. Skullgirls is a perfect example of that. If you want to know the story behind that game, check out my video on that in the top right corner. But why is it so bad to reach a modern audience, you might ask? There are many reasons why. Number one, doing this would mean abandoning your core audience, the people who supported you day one. You're trying to appease people who don't even care about your game, but rather push their ideologies into your game. And two, this could also lead to self-censorship, something that Guilty Gear Strive unfortunately couldn't escape, because before the launch of the Switch version, the digital figure mode in the game was censored due to inappropriate angles. So now you can only view the character models in 2 angles. Otherwise, the game will keep you from viewing them in a certain angle. I've seen some people say it's not a big deal, but I have to ask, if it's not a big deal, then why change it in the first place? In fact, it's more of a big deal coming from Arc System Works, the same company behind these previous outfits, people. Outfits that expose more titty than their new designs. But God forbid someone use this mode for upskirts. And did I mention that they also changed Testament from male to non-binary? Like, it's one thing with Bridget, but Testament too? What's wrong with him being a flamboyant, curvy, feminine man? Why change something that isn't even a big deal? With all these things coming into play, people have lost interest in this game. Combined with the cancellation of the upcoming Guilty Gear game, there's no doubt that the attempt of expanding to a modern audience is only backfiring in their faces. Not to get too much into it, but I always feel like these tourists and localizers think they can tamper with Japanese culture by toning down or altering certain aspects of the media and think they can get away with it. That's not how it works, and the more you try to change things to fit the global audience, the more pushback you're gonna get. And that's exactly what's happening with Guilty Gear. At this point, we don't know what the future holds for Guilty Gear. But the only thing I can look forward to is seeing Lucy from Cyberpunk Edgerunners make her playable debut in Strive, and I can't wait for that, because I will say Lucy is one sexy character in Cyberpunk. Shouts out to her. But aside from that, the franchise is kinda looking a bit rocky. Again, I can respect Daisuke's decision to have Bridget come out as a T-girl. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he was really forced into doing this. In fact, I'd be disappointed because how can you be forced into changing your own character's gender just to appease a different crowd? That's the definition of being bitch made, in my opinion. I don't mind having a T-girl in a video game as long as it's not meant to appeal or pander to the crowd that doesn't even care. I think the biggest issue I have is people witch hunting each other over a character's gender. It's extremely toxic and disgusting behavior. Regardless of whether or not people consider Bridget as a T-girl, putting down other people's opinions, even in the comments underneath an artist's post, is not cool. I even had to voice out my thoughts on Twitter. You should follow your boy over there, by the way, because it's been getting out of hand, and to this day, it's probably still ongoing, which is very concerning. But regardless, I'm still gonna enjoy the game. I'm still going to enjoy playing as Bridget regardless of her gender, and I'm looking forward to Lucy's debut in the game. And with them going back to their roots, maybe they'll stop trying to pander to the activists and tourists and try to win back their core audience. We'll have to wait to see on that. And I would like to know your thoughts on Bridget, but try to keep it civil, please. Hopefully they don't ever try this kind of stunt ever again. But until then, this is Star the Protagonist signing out. As always, go Kigenyo, and have a Starsastic day, everyone.
No photos, please. How about an autograph?
If you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notifications on to join the Star Nation. Also, be sure to follow my Twitter, and while you're at it, check out my previous video. Now.